So tell me a little bit about what I would expect from a shaman session with you.
So what I would do is I'd probably explain to you a little bit about shamanism, just to give you some background, a little bit about what I do and how I was trained and how it all works. And then we talk about what you want to get out of it. What do you want to change in your life, improve, around health, relationships, work, money, life purpose, whatever it is that you really are ready to make a change with. And I would then basically track what's at the core of that. So all of these things I talked about, these life experiences, if you go back a little bit, they have, a kind of archetypical component to that. So usually it's something that happened in the past, something in even a past life or to your ancestors that's influencing what's happening in your life today. So during the session, we figure out what that is and actually clear it and change it at the deepest level of your soul, basically. So, what's going on in your life right now might be version 30 of some original loss or betrayal or abandonment or, abuse, some sort of, core experience that can show up in different aspects of your life, but have the same core issue. So what I'm going to do is go and actually remove those. You lay down, I place some stones on you, my healing stones that have gone through my training with me. And the stones do what my Karo teachers call mikwi, or digest. They actually remove some of these blocks, some of these heavy energies or old patterns that we think of as habits or repeated patterns. And then, see if there's anything that we need to do to return a part of you. That's called a soul retrieval. So a lot of times when something happens in our life that's a little bit traumatic, we'll lose a part of ourselves. And with that part goes the passion and the gifts that we used to have. So it's kind of a form of PTSD, basically.
What does that mean?
That's post-traumatic stress disorder. That's what they call it in psychology. So you're not the same happy-go-lucky person you were before the relationship or the battle or whatever happened. And
Well, how long would a session usually take?
Session's usually about an hour and a half. An initial session could be 2 hours. It sort of depends how much we want to talk about what's going on. The actual work that happens on this deep level, on the soul level, is that can be very quick because it's not limited to ordinary time and space. Basically, I'm in an altered state, you end up in an altered state, and in that place we're able to access these very, very deep parts of ourselves and be able to do the work at that level.
Now, I saw the one thing that you had up on your internet, and there was a guy that you worked with who had something he wanted to work through his work. What if I had something I wanted to work through, maybe through my work and my production company, but also, say, through the family? Is that 2 different sessions, or do you combine them? How does that work?
I usually combine them. I leave it very open. If you come to me and you tell me, usually I'll ask you what's going on in your health that if you could change you would. What's going on in your relationships? What's going on at work? And when you tell me all those things, I have the ability to figure out where the common thread might be, actually. And if it's multiple issues, we'll clear all of them all in one session.
Oh, so you wouldn't have multiple sessions, you could actually do it all in one.
Yeah, whatever you bring to me, my intent in that session is to clear it all. So that's the idea.
And where would you do it? Do you pick the location? Do I? Is it inside? Is it outside? Does it matter?
It's it's basically wherever you're most comfortable. Most of the time when I'm traveling and seeing clients, I'm going right to their home, their apartment, wherever they live, or maybe they're even their work. And the nice thing about that is that it actually clears the energies of the space as well. Because before I start a session, I'm actually opening sacred space. I'm calling on all of my help, the physical and non-physical forces of nature in my team that I've been connected to through my shaman initiation and training. And so when all of that comes into play, it clears the whole space, basically.
Now, when you say you can also come to work, I have a company, so could you come and work with me and my editor and my director and the people that I hire as a company to help us together as a group.
Yeah, it's a great thing to do, because if you think about a group, it's sort of like a living being as well, right? It has its own mission statement, its own goals, and its own energy. So I'll bring together any number of people, and we'll do the same thing. We'll talk about what is the ultimate ideal experience you want out of this? What is the whole purpose of the group? What are you trying to achieve? How would you like to experience that individually and as a group? You know, working together in terms of your relationships and just everything else that's going on. And so then we clear whatever's getting in the way of the group achieving its greatest success. So the company, the organization, whatever it is. And one of the things that I like to do with a bigger group like that as well is what we call the destiny retreat. Well, it's something I do with individuals, and it's very powerful. So it's going forward in time through a journey, maybe a guided meditation with the drum, or a guided journey is what I usually do with the whole group. And through that journey, everybody is essentially visualizing that ideal, that level of success, the ultimate goal that you're wanting to achieve.
Your mission statement.
The mission statement, right? And how it feels to actually be there already. And we actually bring in the energetic patterns of that ideal destiny, of that ultimate, success. And bringing that in then informs the rest of the activities of the group. And that's what happens with individuals, that's what happens with couples and groups, anybody I work with. It's a very powerful thing to do.
It sounds great to do too for a family and for the kids and everything.
Absolutely, I do. I love working with families because, it's the same thing. It's the dynamics. Children love it. They totally relate. It's like the kids know this inherently. It's very natural to them to work at this level and to do the journeys. And I have my rattles and drums. I'm basically, using the rattles to get into an altered state, to get to that deepest level. Right? And that's how we work. We're working. It's one thing to talk about things. That's good therapy and it's good coaching and it's a wonderful thing to do. But then to be able to access these deeper subconscious levels through a kind of ritual or journey or ceremony like I do in session it's that much more powerful. It's important to not leave out that part of our being to really achieve the kind of success we're looking for, the kind of changes we're looking for. We have to incorporate all levels of our being. And that's usually what I end up explaining at the beginning of the session, that we are made up of essential energy, and then a deep subconscious, and then the more conscious that we're aware of, the positive thinking, the ask and receive, ask and it is given, law of attraction, all that stuff. And then the actual activities and life experiences. But we want to incorporate all four layers. And that's essentially what the session is about, accessing the deepest layers. And those are the layers that hold on to the patterns and things from the past, from long ago, that might still be influencing you today and you don't even realize it. That's the difference. It's very hard to make that conscious in any other way than through a kind of ceremony session. Yeah. And then I give you and whoever else I'm working with a little bit of homework, but it's very easy. It's doing a simple ritual that allows what we've done on this deepest level to integrate. So it's much like a vision board that a coach would have you do, a collage of the experiences you prefer. For example, I call that a destiny altar. Sometimes we'll do a kind of an ancestor altar or something. Let's say a company is wanting to change direction, or an organization. We have to honor what it was before and honor the past so that we can leave it very cleanly. And that's what those altars are about. Things like ancestor altars is to honor them, appreciate them, but then make sure that whatever it was stays on the altar and doesn't follow us around into the future. So that's a big part of it, and that's something that most other types of work that don't address, is a little bit of activity, a little bit of ritual that allows you to access those levels in that powerful way. Yeah. So are you ready? When would you like to schedule a session?
Right away, let's go.
You can schedule at any time. And by the way, I do, so I do them in person, but I also do it over the phone. Because accessing these levels is sort of beyond space and time. I call it applied quantum physics, basically. So I can do a session, and I often do over the phone to, the other side of the planet, Australia, for example. And the the person on the other side is feeling everything just the same way they would feel if they were sitting in front of me. So that's what's really amazing about it, is that it's not limited in any way. So there's lots of ways to work.
Great.
Yeah.
So how many sessions generally does somebody need? Or is it a one-time shot, or is there a follow-up to it, or how does it work?
Yeah, well, there's the different layers. So when I go to the deepest layer and do the work, I'm really expecting to clear that once and for all. And then there's that little bit of homework to do. And if you do that, it'll help to integrate the work into your actual life. And then there's the psychological, psycho-spiritual level, which is often good to follow up with, and to, because we're changing thought patterns and habits and ways of thinking, from this deepest level. And so sometimes it's good to have reminders. So I'll work with people, sometimes on a regular basis, clearing energies that might have come on just from life in general. So kind of a maintenance, clearing, if you will, of things that might otherwise get in the way, things that you're engaged with that you don't need to be. And then also I've had people, stay in touch and do sessions around, just new projects, for example. What do you think about this? I'm thinking of doing this. What do you get? What do you sense? And so I'll use my tracking skills. I'll use the sort of psychic aspect of shamanism to help figure out if that's where their vibe is, if that's really what they want to experience, or to even kind of hone that. So you're thinking of doing this project, but what's the core experience you want from that project? And maybe there's another way that you'll be able to get that same experience in a way you haven't figured out yet. But to the shaman, that allows this other form to perhaps find you. So it's about getting clear about what you really want, and then sometimes these synchronicities happen. You'll run into somebody who will suggest something that you weren't thinking of, and that becomes the new direction that you go to get what you were wanting in the first place.
Now, I notice you use a stone and also an animal that it stays with them. And how does one utilize that animal or stone after the session?
Right. So part of that mythic work, accessing that deeply subconscious, is the ritual part, or the images and symbols. So working with the power animal by, say, wearing your Puma shirt, or your animal print, or wearing a piece of jewelry with the animal on it, or the stone, or something like that. Working with the elements of nature on an ongoing basis actually helps you to incorporate the characteristics and instincts of that animal or that stone, whatever it is you're needing.
And I would imagine it would be a good reminder of the session and what you had gone through, right?
Yeah, exactly. When we work with the mythic, be it the altars or wearing something like that, it anchors it. It's a way of keeping you deeply conscious of what it was we talked about, what insights you gained from the session, because you certainly do get a lot of insights. People usually, get insights about things that nobody else was ever able to tell them. It's a really enlightening experience in a lot of ways as well in that regard. So, yeah. The winds of the south, Sachamama Hatsunamari.